Yo, what is going on, everyone? It is Trick or Treat Trident here, back again with another COD Mobile video. And in today's video, I have 10 tips on how to counter the current meta in Call of Duty Mobile. With very few balance changes this season, the meta is pretty much the same, meaning you'll die to persistence, MX9s, gas grenades, thermites, kinetic armor spammers, melee abusers, and a ton more of annoying meta stuff. Now, you can always fight fire with fire by spamming back these annoying meta things, but if you want to have some level of decency and you don't want to spam these things back, but you still want to win your gunfights, I have some tips on how to counter all of the things I just listed and more. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So first up, how to counter strafing. So strafing is when someone's shooting, they'll try to dodge your shots at the same time as trying to hit theirs. So they'll move from the left side of their screen to the right side very fast back and forth to try and dodge your shots. And it can be quite annoying, especially when it's combined with perks that increase ADS movement speed, like the Agile stock, which increases by 40% on the MX9, and the Skulker perk, which is quite annoying as well. So how do you counter this? Use the disabled perk. What this perk will do is when you land a shot, it will not only damage the enemy, but it will slow down both their movement speed and their ADS movement speed. And this season it got buffed to slow the movement speed by 15% and the ADS movement speed by 20%, which previously was only about 2 to 3% reduction. So this is a big buff, and this is really the best way to counter MX9s and PP19s who heavily rely on strafing to win gunfights. Now, this secret buff was provided by Mr. Roey, which is an admin in the Signu Familia Discord. I'll leave their Discord in the description. Huge shout out to him for discovering this huge secret buff. Now, unfortunately, the slowing down effect of the disabled perk is only activated when you hit both upper body and lower body shots in ARs and LMGs. So this is where it's going to be most effective in Holgers, M13s, AS Vals, HVKs. In other types of weapons like SMGs, snipers, shotguns, it will only be activated when you hit lower body shots. So it's up to you to decide if you want to include disabled on all of your weapons. But just note, if you're using this perk on an SMG, you're going to have to intentionally hit lower body shots to slow them down, and then aim higher the last few shots to actually get the kill. The second tip is how to counter disabled. So I know I just talked about it. Insert Spider-Man meme. I feel like over the next few weeks, a lot of people will start noticing this buff and start using the disabled perk more. So if you're hit with people who love using the disabled perk, you can simply slide once you're hit and then ADS and shoot. Because if you remember, it only impacts your movement speed and your ADS movement speed. So sliding is not affected. Tip number 3 is how to counter persistence. So if you've played any sort of rank this season, especially in those higher ranks, you'll notice that a lot of people resort to persistence to win games instead of actual gun skill. And the buff that Swarms got this season is an even bigger slap in the face. What I suggest is making a copy of your 2 most used classes and replacing your normal perks and equipment with anti-persistence perks and equipment. So ideally you have one class for close range and one class for long range, and in your copied versions of these loadouts, you replace Quick Fix with Cold-Blooded, your Tactical Grenade with a Trophy System, your Secondary with an FHJ, and perhaps Lightweight with Flak Jacket. So at the beginning of the game, use your normal class with Quick Fix, and then later on in the game, when people start using the persistence score streaks, switch to your anti-persistence class to shoot down any air units and not get targeted by sentry guns, shocker Cs, hunter killers, basically anything that persistence users love spamming. Now, this does not counter, of course, advanced UAVs or cluster strikes, but it's definitely a good method to significantly lower their chances of winning. Tip number 4 is how to counter melee. So this is especially annoying in Search and Destroy. Typically when people start using melee like katanas, the enemy will basically just knife back, so it'll become an all-out knife battle. But if you don't want to do that, you can always use the disabled perk. Like I said, it not only slows down ADS movement speed, but movement speed, or you can run away, get some distance, and then shoot them. And actually the easiest way to do this is to slide back and shoot at the same time. So to do this, just look back, slide, turn forward while you're sliding, ADS, and shoot. Like I said, this is the easiest way to gain distance and confuse melee abusers who typically like to slide and knife. So if you slide back, it's going to be a game over for them. Next up, tip number 5 is how to counter thermites. So honestly, there's not much you can do to counter these. You can run Flak Jacket to reduce the effect of the thermite, or you can just place trophies in objectives. But most of this tip is just to convince you to stop using thermites. If you're tired of using thermites, just use trip mines. You know, I made a trip mine montage. You know, I love trip mines. The best spots to place trip mines is just place them every time you spawn in the spawn. And it's really effective, especially on maps like Summit and Firing Range. In those really confined spawns, you're basically guaranteed at least one spawn trap kill a game, delaying respawns. You know, this is not going to do too much, but you know, it's always a free kill. You already know I love my trip mines. That's why I had to include that. Tip number 6 is how to counter gas grenades. Now, normally gas grenades will force you to cancel your ADS, impairing your ability to shoot accurately on top of slowing down your movement. However, with the tactical mask perk, when you're hit by a gas grenade, you will not be forced to cancel your ADS. Only your movement speed will be impaired, and it will be less impaired than it would be without tactical mask. If you consider using this perk, especially where it's very useful in hardpoint, you have to see what are you swapping out for this. Most people use dead silence, but in respawns, dead silence isn't as effective as it is in search and destroy, since when you're sprinting, people can hear your footsteps regardless, with or without dead silence. So tactical mask may be the best blue perk for respawns in the current meta. Tip number 7 is how to counter kinetic armor, or the newly added TAC 5 operator skill, which increases health. So this can be really frustrating to go against, especially if they pop it right around a corner before engaging you in a close range gunfight. To counter this, all you have to do is pull out a melee and just slash them once, and it's a free kill. Now, you'll know before you pop kinetic or TAC 5, there's a tiny little sound effect that plays, and you can actually hear that as the enemies. And this falls under sound effects in the audio settings. So if you want to hear this sound better, you can increase the sound effects in your audio settings and be on the lookout for that sound because you'll hear it very often. Moving on over to tip number 8, how to counter snipers. So snipers aren't a huge meta problem, but they can be quite annoying, especially in search and destroy. So the usual smoking the mid, concussioning, gas grenades, those are pretty effective. But if you're going against a sniper at close range, just add some cuts in your movement. So move from side to side, be kind of unpredictable with your movement. You just want to confuse the sniper. You know, it's not a mega tip, but it'll help you die a little bit less at close range with snipers. Tip number 9 is how to counter heartbeat sensors. So again, this is for search and destroy. Similar to the third tip, which was the persistence counter, the counter to the heartbeat sensor should be making copies of your 2 most used search and destroy classes with and without ghost. So typically you should run quick fix, but if you lose a round to someone using the heartbeat sensor, just switch to your ghost class. The last tip on this list, tip number 10, is how to counter the Shorty. So I was trying to think, how do you counter the Shorty? It has a really high one-shot kill potential, and it's really good for players that are accurate. That being said, if you're not accurate with it, it can be a disaster. It can be a nightmare. So really, when it comes down to this, you're kind of screwed when it comes to respawns. If someone pulls this out at closer range, you can't do anything. But if you have time on your side, like in search and destroy, and someone has this and they're camping in a corner, you can kind of bait peek them until they use both of their shots. Maybe they get a hit marker with one of them, they miss the other one, they only hit you in the legs from very far distance. Once they miss both of those shots, it's done. You just rush them and it's game over. That's really the only way to counter the Shorty. I'm sorry, not really a good tip, but just know when they're out of ammo, that's the time to rush. Alright, you made it in the video. Hope you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I probably will be doing how to counter videos every time the meta changes. And a quick update, my PC arrived, so finally I can do more frequent videos because the editing time is going to be faster. And yeah, I'm just really excited. A face reveal coming hopefully very soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.